What's going on, guys? This is Gainz Gaming. Today I want to talk about archers and more importantly what the future of archers really look like in Rise of Kingdoms, because I'm not sure if you guys feel the same way, but I feel like archers have really been given a back seat in recent updates. And the biggest reason why I feel that way is because of the change of a couple of commanders that are going back to KVK 2. And that is going to be Bertrand, who is a cavalry commander who is getting completely reworked to be a combo attack damage commander, as well as an infantry commander, which used to be worthless, and now CJ is going to be a smite damage commander, again going back to KVK 2. However, we also saw Cyrus the Great, who is going to be brought back to KVK 2, but was not reworked, even though he's not really usable in Season of Conquest. So that begs the question, what do they have planned for archers? Because right now, archers are kind of in a weird spot where a lot of people are starting to bench their archers. And like I know some content creators like Shappy Gaming is benching his archer march. And that's just really, really weird. Not that it's weird for him doing it, but it's weird that we're at a point where not running an archer march or running a siege march instead, or running an extra cav march or an extra infantry march is just so much better than running archers, because archers just struggle so much in the open field right now. And like if they get left alone, sure, your Zeuge and your Herman can go off, but the odds of that happening are so slim because they're the number one target. If you see an archer march on the field, you are wiping that thing. That is my number one target every single time. And when people are playing in dot mode and you can see what troop type you're targeting, like you're going to be targeting the archer march because you know it's going to be squishier. You know you're going to trade better. You're going to wipe it a lot faster. So, ignoring the infantry and going for the archer just makes a lot more sense because you know you're going to get a good trade. You know you're going to wipe it faster. And it's just helping out the field more because you're taking out a very high DPS commander. And not to mention, looking at Shajar. I spun the wheel for Shajar a little bit when she came out. You can see I have 35 heads in her, and I believe I have some more here, another 20 heads. And because I didn't know how good she was going to be, so I wanted to have at least some investment in her in case I wanted to run her as my second archer march. And I am currently working on a second archer march right now. Like, I've already crafted the KVK helmet and the KVK weapon, which kind of sucks because I'm not using it right now. As of right now, this is a complete waste of materials that I have invested, also a complete waste of conquest coins. So what do I think is going to happen to archers? I genuinely believe that the next archer commander that comes out absolutely has to be meta changing. For the open field, that is. We obviously need more archer rallies too. Ashurbanipal is great, but I feel like, again, infantry and cavalry are getting so much love, not only with rallying, not only with garrisoning, but also with the open field. They're really controlling everything. And then you have engineering siege marches that are just going crazy. So the one troop type that is really, really falling behind really fast is archers. And it's kind of weird because before, I would say honestly, not only like probably a couple years ago even, archers were like the meta. Like archers were the best troop type to run. Whales were running archers because they were so freaking strong. And now it's the point where, yeah, whales are still using archers, but it's because they can afford to. My Zeuge, like, again, if he got left alone, he did awesome. But in many cases, he couldn't get away because he's too slow. Archers don't have march speed. Archers don't really have any tankiness. And yeah, with Shajar, you have an extra healing ability, the powerful healing or healing factor, but how good is that? What you're really doing is adding more Sev wounds to your march. So in my opinion, I don't love the Mighty Heal. I don't love where archers are going right now. And I feel like Rise of Kingdoms really just needs to get back to the roots of archers, which is high DPS, nuking commanders that do a ton of damage and add some march speed. That's really what archers need right now, is a way to get away. They don't need to be faster than infantry or cavalry, but just have the ability to get away. Have a skill where maybe if you leave combat, you increase march speed, or have some talent trees in here that increase march speed, like making giving them the ability to run away when they're getting targeted, like that's why my Zeuge trade's so bad. Because if I'm running away with all my marches, Zeuge is the closest one to the enemy, and so he's the one that they're targeting. And when I'm chasing an enemy, the archers are the ones I target because I know I can catch up to them. I know my cavalry will be able to catch up really, really quickly and wipe that march because it's an archer march and it's going to be able to die really, really fast. So I feel like Lilith really needs to focus more on what they had before with archers and get back to their roots. Because right now with the Mighty Heal, it's just not it. And I'm not sure if you guys are feeling the same way. Comment down below if you are. But I feel like they have definitely been prioritizing a lot more infantry and cavs lately. And really just I don't want to say ignoring archers, but really just having some flops come out. You know, it's just not good commanders being released. And people aren't wanting to invest into them because they know they're not going to trade well with it. Well, like Shajar, she's not a commander that you're really using besides for barb chaining. Honestly, like that's why I'm using her. And it's really just sad because you want to be able to invest in a new meta, and people love archers, but they're just really not doing great right now. So I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that archers are still going to have a bright future, or do you agree with me and think that archers are kind of on a back burner right now? And it's really in a place where you don't really want to be investing into archers until they release a new meta changing commander, or they start making some changes. Because, you know, Shappy and I talked about in a recent video the museums and how the museum buff is just not good enough to start using commanders. Like YSG has a decent museum buff, like extra skill damage, extra defense, but if you were to add march speed to that instead, I would probably take 20% march speed over 20% defense. Like, yeah, I'd probably be overpowered, but I would much rather have that over some extra defense or even the skill damage. If you gave me 20% march speed, I might take that and take away some of the skill damage. Maybe stick at 5% skill damage and add 20% march speed. Like, that might make YSG usable in Season of Conquest because you can actually run away. But the museum, like when they're reworking commanders, it's just making it not useful anymore because, like, how do you know if the museum is going to be even useful? Because it's not making them usable in the open field in Season of Conquest, which is the only time you can use a museum. But not only that, but the commanders just aren't good enough in the first place, even with the museum buff, and you just have to rely on them getting reworked. It's just not really a great plan for archers. So again, let me know what you guys think down below on archers. If you agree that they are just really kind of weak right now. And again, if they get left alone, they do awesome. But the odds of that happening are very, very slim, especially if you are running multiple marches, because it's a lot harder to control. If you're only using one archer march, yeah, you can control a little bit easier and just, you know, control your one march on the open field. But for me, using 5 open field marches and a siege march, it's just really hard to be able to control my marches and be able to keep my Zeuge out of harm's way. And the worst case scenario, I try to get away and I can't. And so I just have to let my Zeuge die and I get horrible trades. So we'll have a video later on about how my Zeuge and my Herman traded in this KVK. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But again, comment what you guys think down below about archers, and I'll see you guys in the next video.